Welcome into Devil's Digest TV following Arizona State's Fan Fest here in spring 2026 at Men in America Stadium for publisher Ho Rubino. I'm Justin Lacertosa, and Ho, this is one of those events every year that's supposed to be easy, fun, lighthearted, but with the news of assistant strength coach and former ASU offensive lineman Stephen Miller passing away tragically last morning, it certainly wasn't that. A beloved figure in the Sun Devil community and a massive outpour from coaches, players, and fans about his passing, dealt with health issues, and unfortunately he passed away, but his memory will surely be remembered at Tempe for a long time to come.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Justin. I know I give credit for the players for coming out here, really interacting with all the fans that came out, but I know that their heart is really heavy with such a tragic passing of Steve Miller. The Steve Miller you see on video right now, that's the Steve Miller that really he was off the field.
We need some milk, though. Tell Florida State they need some milk. Let's go.
Somebody who always had a smile on his face, seemed like he never had a bad day in his life. And don't get me wrong, just like a true offensive lineman, he was plenty ferocious when it was time to step between the lines. But somebody who really was just a great presence. And whenever I talk to players and people on staff after his passing, they said people don't realize what a great influence he was on the program. Local kid that played at Gilbert High School, obviously played as an offensive lineman for the Sun Devils between 2015 and 2019. Great loss for Arizona State, and I'm sure that this upcoming 2026 season is definitely going to be played in his honor.
Yeah, for sure, and a hard switch back to the field. Arizona State's offense, a new look for this team, especially in the QB room, a fully revamped QB room outside of Cam Dyer, and then you look at this receiver room as well, one of the best hauls in the country in the transfer portal. What have you made out of ASU's offense with 2 practices to go in spring ball? Hines Ward and Kenny Dillingham headed to Pittsburgh for the NFL draft, but 2 practices left on Saturday and Tuesday. What have you seen out of ASU's offense?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about both Hines Ward and Ken Dillingham going to the NFL draft to accompany Jordan Tyson, who I heard after his workout today definitely cemented his first-round status. You kind of wonder, okay, what is the wide receiver room going to look like post-Jordan Tyson? And I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that this wide receiver room as a whole, even without Jordan Tyson, is better in 2026 than it was in 2025. Bringing two top 10 wide receivers from the transfer portal in Reed Harris and Amari Miller, and having Raiden Vines-Wright transfer from Washington come to the Sun Devils. All 3 of them had an excellent spring practice, and I think that really eases the pressure out of the fact, like you said, that you have a brand new quarterback room. I really thought as a whole this group, has played well. Maybe some ups and downs as you would expect. 3 new signal callers to the program. But overall, I think that, Cutter Boley is still the hands-down favorite to be the starter. But we saw some good stuff from Mike Hakeem. We saw some good stuff from Jake Fetty, the true freshman. I think the passing game is going to be just fine. And I think maybe in fall camp, we really see the fireworks, like we're hearing the ones behind us, start flying over there in the passing game. I was really impressed with the running game. Not that I had low expectations for the ground attack, but I really think that Sean Aguano, the running backs coach, is going to have some quote-unquote good headaches. What is the rotation going to be like? And I know we always joke every season, this is the season it's going to be running back by committee. And then you have Cam Scadavu, and then you have Raleek Brown. But I really don't know who's going to be the emerging alpha male in that running back room. There's really too many good running backs to choose from. But obviously, we talk about a great ground attack. You have to talk about the offensive line and tight ends. I think the run blocking has really been exceptional for most of spring game and for spring practice. And that's really a good sign for this Sun Devil program. You like to see the tight ends be more involved in the passing game. You like to see the offensive line be better in pass protection, and maybe again those are aspects that were hit and miss in spring, but maybe we'll see more of that in fall camp. But overall, I think that this offense as a whole is just a more complete offense. Again, doesn't have a star like Jordan Tyson, doesn't have a star running back like Raleek Brown, but I think some of the players coming back and some of the newcomers, whether they're true freshmen or transfer portal additions, I think this offense is going to be just fine. And again, if some people were somewhat disappointed with what they saw in spring practice in terms of consistency. I think we're going to see a whole different unit come fall camp.
For sure. And you mentioned the fireworks in the back. ASU's defense brought the spark last season. It's going to be hard to replace that production. A couple key returners in CJ Fike, Clayton Smith, Rodney Vintage, just to name a few, but a lot of new guys on that end as well. What have you seen out of ASU's defense?
Yeah, it's funny you say just to name a few. That really is only the notable players coming back. So many transfer portal additions, but I think they really hit bullseyes on a lot of them. And we talked about this in previous features about having Imarian Winstead and Billy Thompson transfer defensive ends, but also freshman Julian Hugo really being a very pleasant surprise. Even though I warned my subscribers in first week practice, that's one true freshman to look out for. You look at linebacker Owen Long, who led all FBS schools in tackles, and this guy just every spring practice has produced time and time again. And you have Martell Hughes, a junior that really hasn't played all that much his first 2 years, but showed more than a few flashes. The starter next to him, so linebacker I think is in really good hands. And the secondary, you mentioned Rodney Bimage, somebody who hasn't played all that much just because he had established starters, I should say, in front of him in Keith Abney and Javon Robinson. But now that he's asked to be the starter, asked to be in the forefront, he definitely did not disappoint. And having the starter next to him and Ashton Stamps from LSU, just one of many transfers that came with such high expectations, and I really feel has fulfilled them. At the safety, Lyric Walls, the safety from Kansas, again, just another newcomer coming with such high expectations and really playing well. So I think there's really a lot to be excited about this defense. Again, a lot of players to replace, but I really feel that in terms of those players that are going to be asked to be those replacements, I think ASU did just fine. When it comes to run defense, just because Zach Sponson and CJ Fike, the two presumed starters for this season, have not been fully healthy, we didn't see this run defense really play up to its capabilities. Mikael Gardner, has been ahead of schedule, recovering from his Achilles, but still not 100%. I think that's one aspect that in fall camp is going to be looking much better than we saw in spring practice. But I just feel that in terms of the rush defense, maybe collectively as a group, is better than it was last year. Sure, it might reveal some pass protection issues on the offensive line, but overall, I think this defense could be just fine, and I can't be impressed more by the secondary. Again, going up against one heck of a wide receiver group, and a lot of sessions, Justin, that really held their own. So it's going to be fun to see those battles coming into fall camp, and maybe when the season kicks off, the wide receivers are going to be happy not to face the secondary. The secondary is going to be happy not to face this group of wide receivers, but I really love seeing those battles between wide receivers and defensive backs.
Yeah, for sure. And as we mentioned, 2 more spring sessions for ASU spring football. For the most part, the coaches have probably made their evaluations clear going into the fall. But what do you think needs to be done, going into fall camp, seeing what you've seen throughout the duration of spring?
Yeah, I think Hunter Bull is still going to be the starter when the season kicks off, but I think you want to see him create more distance than he is right now between him and the competition. I'm really curious to see about the true freshman Jake Fetty. Can he be that backup quarterback? Can he win that battle against a veteran like Mikey Keene? I think that's something to definitely look out for. I'm okay with the running back committing my approach. I think it's going to finally happen this year because it's just not one alpha male in that room that you can choose. But you still want to see the rotation start to establish itself maybe midway through fall camp. So I'm curious to see, how that's going to work out. On defense, again, I think the run defense, once you're going to have players that have been not fully healthy in spring, I think you're going to see a much better run defense, but that's something I'm sure the coaches do want to see materialize. And in terms of the secondary, we had a player like Boogie Wilson sit out spring as he was recovering from shoulder surgery, and we know how vital he was for the ASU secondary last season. So when he's back and healthy in fall camp, how does that change the dynamic of the safety group? Because we saw Montana Warren go back to his roots, so to speak, and play a lot of nickel in spring. So is that going to happen? Is he going to actually play the strong safety, replacing Ghost Rouser? That's another thing I'll be curious to see. But overall, I think this offense and this defense, we're having so many new faces in so many key positions, and in many positions really being the entire, not only starting unit, but most of the 2 deep. I really think that a lot of these newcomers have really hit the ground running, and I think fall camp is probably going to instill even more confidence in this team. As we know, when the expectations are low on ASU, they tend to do well. We all know the story about 2024 being picked dead last in the Big 12 media preseason poll. Last year they didn't even have a preseason poll because they were afraid about that precedent. I think the Big 12 media preseason poll is going to come back this year, and I don't think ASU is going to be the favorite. I'm already seeing some predictions that ASU is going to be luckily middle of the pack in the Big 12. And maybe the Sun Devils want that exactly to happen because, again, when expectations are low in Tempe, sometimes they tend to do better. But aside, from that little anecdote, I really think that both offense and defense might be better than some people are giving them credit. And I think in fall camp, we're going to see those strides being made.
Of course. Thank you, Hod, for your insight as always. We've talked a lot about a new look roster for Arizona State. A lot of guys out of the picture from years prior. Unfortunately, I'm out of eligibility too. I'm set to graduate in less than a month, so this is my final stand-up as a member of Devil's Digest and On3 Sports. And this has been a truly unforgettable experience for me. I mean, who would have thought that my first year covering this team would be the Cinderella run to the Peach Bowl, all the opportunities I had with that, not only to cover the Big 12 Championship and the Peach Bowl, but go on the road throughout that season and this past season as well, seeing a bunch of different cities that I've never seen before, being able to cover a team every single week and kind of felt full-time to me, being able to work for On3 Sports /Rivals, such a prestigious service as well when it comes to recruiting and much more. It's truly been a blessing for me. I've learned so much. I've had a great time under your leadership, Hod, and it's truly been an experience that I will carry with me throughout the rest of my career. You might see more of me in the Valley, but we'll see how that goes. So for publisher Hod Rubino, I'm Justin Lacertosa. We'd like to thank our sponsors in Burrito Express and Santan Ford. Signing out one last time. We'll talk to you guys soon.